positivity is the way to go. I'm just, even at this age, I've kind of come to realize that any kind of insecurities that you kind of have, just leave them at the door.
In the room, 52 Jokers Wild.
So I'm doing too many different things. I can now just relax and take it nice and easy. Hi, folks, and welcome to In the Room with 52 Jokers Wild. This week, our guest is Sinéad Cassidy Holt, actor, model, writer, and she's actually a director as well, an FX artist in the film and television industry. And I also saw somewhere that you bake as well.
I do. I have my own baking business as well on the side.
Oh my goodness.
On the go, always. I always I love bringing them onto set. I'll randomly surprise all my actors, or if I'm acting, all the crew, and I'll be like, look what I brought today. And they're like, oh God, Sinead, you're going to make us fat. And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I love this because you're an entrepreneur. You're a business person. You're not just turning up with the cakes. You're saying, I have a captured audience. And you give them a cake, they thank you. And then you go, 10 quid. Where's my money? Give me the money. Yeah, I know. You also hook them. You got a sugar buzz. Next day you bring the same amount again, and they can't help it.
So I'll slightly throw in a few of the business cards. Like, if you ever need a cake anywhere in my spare time, I don't mind.
Well, that's what film is, I think. It's baking a cake. You got to get all the ingredients together. You got to sugar it up. Some of them turn into fucking horrors. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's somebody might eat. Actually, I was given a scone by my wife this morning. She's in a coffee shop down the road, and this is interesting. 6 guards jumped out of 2 vans to kick down a door of a pub next door to the coffee shop, but then they didn't kick it down. I was going, that's a bit weird. There's 6 guards, and they're not kicking it down. They ring the bell. Whoever they want is not getting out of bed. He wouldn't answer the door. They all came in for cappuccino. This is just 10 o'clock. They came in for cappuccinos. They seemed to be happy enough with that. And while all the commotion was going on, my scone got double nuked in the oven. So I got this cremated, I don't know what it was, and the guards got, hello, officer. Good day, officer. How are you doing, officer? Top of the morning to you. Aren't you great in your uniform there now? So that was at 10 o'clock this morning, about an hour ago, and I got a burnt scone. I'm sure your cakes are better than that.
I'll bring you a proper scone. Don't be worried.
There you
go. So basically, we have to make a production as soon as possible, just so we can get some of your feasts to on set.
I will happily bring all the scones.
That would be brilliant.
Now, what else do you do? Cream and jam. Is it just plain old scone? Is there little raisins in there?
Oh gosh, no, you can have whatever you want in it.
Ooh.
You just give me the order and I'll put in whatever.
I'm watching Gilded Age at the moment, so I want afternoon tea. So, I want afternoon tea, little china teacups. And, my wife's watching this program with me, and we're looking at all the splendor of, I think it's the 1890s on Fifth Avenue, New York. And you have the upstairs, downstairs, and it's 2 different, worlds away from each other, the moneyed and the unmoneyed. Then we're also watching on Netflix Inventing Anna, and how she's actually sort of duped the same society in New York, I believe. And again, I'm looking at this going, where's this money? This money that's out there, and I'm trying to get me burnt scone, and this lot are dropping $500,000 on a Prada handbag. So what world do you mix in your feature film sort of journey?
It's the flour and butter one, isn't it? That's the mix.
You know what? I love playing all different kinds of characters. I get, a lot of people would always consider me posh with my accent sometimes, but I'm going to be in a new film soon where I'm playing the most common person ever. And it's such a difference. I remember filming
that's you, George.
Self-tape.
Me? Oh, absolutely. With my accent, yeah. I'm absolutely a commoner here, definitely.
No, I remember filming my self-tape, and I'd done the whole thing with the proper orange makeup and the hun bun and all that kind of stuff. And I had the mask down on my chin and everything, filming it. And I remember one of the writers Zoom calling me, and he was like, oh my God, Sinead, we had loads of submissions, but we just saw yours and we were gobsmacked. I'm like, you're probably shocked with my accent now listening to me. And he was like, yeah, what the hell? It was so so different. But that's what I like about acting, that you can be like a chameleon and just change everything. So nobody really knows the real you.
We now, Sinead, we need to get you to give a few tips to Garvin, because Garvin is stuck we need to break him out of that mold so he can become all kinds of different characters and personalities, so he can explore that wonderful world.
I haven't actually mastered the one yet, George. I'm 55 years in. I haven't figured this one out yet. But no, actually, I like what jumped into my head, and it reminded me of this. I don't know the girl's name, and she's starring in Inventing Anna, but she's also in this, it's more her accent in it. It's like a mix of a Russian Americanized accent. But where I would have saw her before, I think, was in Ozarks, and it would have been this rough, trailer trash type accent. And that's the difference. I'm comparing those two programs and going, that's what I'm paying attention to. Now, she's great in both, but the accent is what's catching my attention. Now, I'm wondering, I spot these guys on LinkedIn and Facebook, and they're voiceover artists. And you probably know who we're talking about. We won't mention any names. But I'm wondering, I think I might experiment. I've no idea. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't change my voice, I can barely handle this one. But I'm wondering, is it a skill that everyone can learn from nada? Is it that your natural accent is what we're listening to now, but you skill up on accents, or you have a talent for it, or do you reckon anyone can do it with a bit of push?
I think anyone can do it. You just have to try. Just listening to certain films, I have this weird habit that I picked up, where I can sometimes pick up someone's accent if I'm talking to them long enough. Like I have friends from different countries and everything. I remember one time, one of my American friends, we were just chilling one time, and I started copying her, and I didn't mean to. I didn't realize it was happening. And she's like, "Sinead, you're doing it again." And I didn't know. And she's like, "Well, at least you're enacting. That's a good thing." But anyone can do it. Some people find it easier than others, but it's just about practice. Like I love to do this thing where I'll randomly pick a day and I'll go somewhere and I'll decide today I'm going to have a different accent. And I'm going to see how much I can push this and see if people believe me or not. And it's a great practice to get into, because you never know, because that way you build it up for your CV and stuff. And then you end up being able to apply for an audition for all these different roles that have these different accents. Whereas beforehand, I'd be like, oh God, I'm nervous about it. But now
would you not lie?
Try it.
Would you lie? Like I think I signed up to movie extras years ago, and I ticked every box. Go horse riding, yeah, Jason, no problem. Karate, yep, for black belt. Accents, of course I can talk, no problem. Richard Branson says you lie through your teeth and you then fake it till you can make it. Have you ticked every box on movie extras or movie? Not that you're an extra, but more that you're a star. But you'll say I can do it till I can't, or do you go, oh no, I only tick what I can do at the moment?
It depends on how far I think I can push something. Like I wouldn't be putting down I'm a black belt in karate, because you never know, they could be like, okay, come on set next week, and I'm just there like, oh God, I'm gonna die today. Like some things I think you can risk it for. Like when I was in Bow Street, one of the guys was talking to me about there was an ad for horse riding, and he'd no clue how to horse ride, and also for skiing, and he went into Lidl. And he got the job. He went in Lidl, picked up all the ski gear, went on set and was like, all right, I'm ready to go. Watched a few YouTube videos and just winged it. Now, for me, I'd be terrified to do that. But sure, look, try it out. Terrified I'd break something because I'm the most clumsiest person.
YouTube is actually really good, because the other week I was, my wife said I need to put a mirror on the wall, and I have to drill through some tiles. And I'm kind of going, right, they're easy to break, the old tiles, but I've got to do this. So I found a YouTube video. Yeah, you take the hammered bit off of the drill and get it to do slowly, and it goes through. And I find that everything I've been doing, I've learned off YouTube.
No, George,
you're an FX person. No, I think no.
How the hell do you learn skiing on YouTube?
No, I think
you're in your little gear in the living room. You're swaying back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put a bit of baby oil on the floor, strap down, get ready, and just zoom for it and see how you.
Someone better not jump into this conversation at that moment in time, or we're in serious trouble now. We have to X-rate this one. But
all you need to do is get the child slide outside in the garden, and that'd be a great one. Go to the top of that and then just go down a little small slope. And then you'll be away. Fine, absolutely. Or get the little roller ones underneath and go off to the glen next door to you or somewhere.
Yeah, kids have the coolest toys nowadays. See them in mini roller coasters and stuff. You'd be surprised what you can make. And also YouTube, you can make your own toys.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think, Garvin, what you have to do is you have to start people observing. Because quite often, because acting is really about mimicking other people, which is what Sinead's actually said. You need to start, imitating other people and doing what they're doing and seeing what's happening. It comes naturally to human beings. We imitate everything all around us. Be a tree now.
I'm just
gone quiet for a few moments. That was unbelievable.
No. I just got a battery low. I'm going to do one better.
I got 3 seconds there.
For my acting coaching.
I've got to change headphones because I won't be able to hear you because it's plugged in for 2 years into this computer and it's going battery low. So I think I wasn't cleaning the earwax out. So there must be some sort of joint between the connection to the battery and the actual connection to it's Keith on telling me battery low. You two talk among yourselves. You're not going to get much chance after this.
Not being a tree.
I'll be back in 1 second.
You'll be back. So Sinead, I noticed you did FX. You're special effects. What special effects are you doing? And how does that relate to acting? How do you find that works?
When I was younger, I've always wanted to do acting, but I was always kind of shy. I was like too afraid to. I used to do dance and musical theatre and all that. So then I got into makeup and I was like, well, if I'm too afraid to be in front of the screen, I'll be behind it. So I started practicing and then I went to college and studied it. And then I went under a mentor, Ali Gordon, for some devil effects, and him and his partners, Tate Steinseek and Steve Johnson, they've done movies like Steve created Slimer from Ghostbusters and Tate works on The Walking Dead and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of just got into that. And then I ended up doing so many courses with them. I started helping them teach some of the classes. So like proper creature effects, like I have a full blown, it's like, it was meant to be like a witch that I made, like a full silicone mask. And then I painted it to look like a very creepy clown. And I have it all over my my TikTok, and it scares the life out of some people. Like I have it in the filming studio and I have it pointed out the window. And sometimes like I love to give people a fright when they come over. So it'll be late at night and they'll look out and they're like, oh geez, what the hell is that? I'm like,
yes, I've done that as well. Because I remember in 1997 when Maggie Thatcher was being voted in again, we made a dummy of her. Now my wife works in a hospital. And afterwards, because we had nothing else to do with it, they went and put it into the hospital beds. And they'd actually freak out the doctors and say, oh, look, she's very, very yellow. What has she got? And they'd go, what's going on? And they went through, now at one point, they actually, almost gave a security guard a heart attack. So they had to stop that after a while. But back then, nurses were all doing all kinds of pranks. And anything I would produce, they wanted it in there. They even wanted me to go in with a broadcast camera to go and film some of the new doctors too. We couldn't bring the camera in. So they went in as a radio reporter. And they got a few good things out there. So again, real life events, things that are going on. It
reminds me of, I was on a set recently for a film called Deadweight. I was doing the makeup on it and we needed to do a dead body. And I had done all the prosthetics. We threw one of our friends, Bobby, in the car. And then the next day we were filming up in the mountains. So I was like, well, we can't chuck him in a black bag going up there. So we have to think. So I got a mannequin and I got everyone to help me wrap it up, and I wrapped it up in loads of black bags, and we were up there and we had to carry it down, and we thought, it'll be a Sunday, nobody's going to be here. Of course, it was like everybody and the Queen was there and they were all pulling into the car park, and we were like, oh God, it just looks so weird. And we had suitcases and stuff with us with all like the gear and stuff, and a few of the guys were off to film some car scenes, so I was sitting there waiting, and all these families rocked up, and I had to be like, don't worry, it's not real. It's like, it's fake. We're filming. And and they were looking at me like, why are you even saying this to me? I'm like, I have to say it so you don't call the guards. And I had the fake arm and I was like, see, look, it's not real. And then we were carrying it down the mountain, and oh my God, the weight of it as well. And then of course, the mountain rescue people came along with their dog, and I was like, we're gonna get locked up or something. But it's just all the stuff that you randomly can do, and what's
interesting here is, had you just, not try to suggest what's going on and actually just did it in plain sight. I think there's some statistics out there that says people won't know. They don't, if you walk by them with the dead body, they couldn't say what color your hair was. They wouldn't. They'd see it as being normal because you're not trying to hide it. It's not a dead body. It's hiding in plain sight. Whereas the more you're trying to hide, then the more you're bringing focus to them, and they're trying to figure out what's there, what's behind here, what's in the bag. Whereas I think we should be filming more. It's like the improv guys walk down the street with the body and see who nobody's going to bat an eyelid.
It's actually like the gorilla. The little skit they do with either people actually on a tambourine, count how many times they go up in the air, and a gorilla walks past and nobody actually sees it, or the basketball that's being passed around and a gorilla walks through them. Nobody actually sees it because we all focus on the thing we've been asked to focus on, except for Garvin. He's all over the place.
No, I'm all over the place. Anyway. Actually, I'm at the remembering a couple of minutes ago or a few minutes ago before my ears went. But you mentioned Ronica, you mentioned a feature, and you mentioned everything's connected. Well, we know you're connected to Stephen, and you're doing an awful lot of stuff, and you're his private baker. And and now you're Ronica is writing, so we sort of know that. So she's a great. She told us I'm a writer, not a lover, or something to that effect. And then so you're in there. Are you directing? Are you in it? Are you just baking the cakes? What are you doing in this feature?
Well, I'm doing a few different things with Ronica lately. The one we're filming next week is a feature that I'm acting in, and then in March and April, we're filming something called The Pier, which she's going to be doing every year. And it's 5 or 6 different segments, and each segment has different actors and a different director. So they all gel together, like connecting with The Pier. And I'm directing the middle chunk, and I'm in another segment of it. And then next year, I'm directing her film Paperweight by myself, the feature film. So I'm doing a lot with Ronnie actually lately.
You're covering off, and your IMDb credit list must be out the fucking door like the yellow pages. You're going, it's me, myself. I'm the caterer. I'm the makeup artist. I'm acting in it. I'm behind the camera, in front of the camera. You're taking this multi-hyphenate to the extreme now. You're actually making me be embarrassed how much I'm not in it, that I'm not even got one IMDb credit. We've got to just turn up in the background with that dead body, and hopefully you might bring we'll be in a little rowing boat at the pier going by, and you're going to have to stick us in for the credits because we're just in line of view.
You know what? That would look deadly in the scene. That actually look really cool.
Now, you will notice us throwing a dead body overboard. But
see if anyone notices it.
That's just the rubbish.
Me, unfortunately.
I can't afford the new rubbish charges, so if we just get rid of a bit of rubbish, there's so much in the sea. Sure, who's going to notice?
Yeah, sure. It's a very emotional scene anyway. Who's going to notice that in the background? I don't have everything up that I do. I also do intimacy coordination and choreography and voiceover. And I'm currently also on a new YouTube series where I'm reacting to YouTube videos, or we're doing like Irish people react to certain foods or drinks, or watching TikTok videos and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm just jumping at everything I can just to throw it in.
I'm going, how many hours are in the day? I must be on a different time plan.
Not enough. Yeah.
I'm getting up and going, coffee, break, think about doing something. I might, no, put it off again, second coffee. You're going, oh no, I'll jump from, I put a couple of cakes in the oven here. I better go out and build some props. I'll walk out and mind those 55 kids in the back garden, entertain them for about 10 minutes, come back in again, and I'll do some reaction to YouTube videos.
Yeah.
What? Where are you on Red Bull steroids or something?
Lots of iced coffee.
Lots of iced coffee.
Coffee actually used to make me very sleepy, and I used to only drink tea, but now I'm kind of getting stuck in the coffee groove. Where I'm literally, my days consist of, I wake up in the morning and I have about 50 missed voice notes from Stephen, and from loads of other people. I have to answer them, go into the emails, do the Zooms, go off, make a cake, come back, go work out a bit, back on the Zoom calls, organizing shoots, texting people, getting editors stuff ready, all that kind of stuff. So it's like I have no time, but also at the same time, I find it very hard to give myself a break. Like I find it hard to just sit down and relax because I feel I'm wasting time. I need to keep going because I feel like I'm at that point right now. I'm 22, but I feel like I'm finally getting my name out. I didn't
get out of bed before 2:00 in the afternoon when I was 22.
I do not sleep. No, I feel like I'm at a certain point right now where I'm finally getting my name out there and people are finally starting to notice me a bit more. Why stop now? Keep pushing. That's how you get there.
No, the coach mentors will kick in now. Hold on a second.
I'm about to actually just because I've worked through the BBC. I've been an editor, and I've worked under those kind of pressures that you're talking about. And I also used to see a lot of 25-year-olds get burnt out. So which gives you 3 years there. And the thing is that if you do keep on working and working and working, you do eventually get burnt out. And what you're trying to do is sustain yourself over a longer period of time. And I think, I've been in the industry in some form or fashion for nearly 40 years now. And I've managed to find something kept. I would have had the same energy probably that you've got at the moment.
I've never had.
I don't have that energy. No, and it is crazy because I'm in a kind of in a similar sort of schedule, not quite as rough, but basically because I'm trying to slow down a bit, but I'm trying to fit things in and I can't quite get those in. I actually do different roles now, not as an actor, as a person. I mean, I'm editing, I'm directing this, we're organizing whatever we're going to try and do next. I'm actually looking after my mum that's in the house as well while my wife's out working. Trying to fit in the exercises is a crazy thing. I'm also now a deacon. So I'm actually now getting involved in that side of things, which is a bit of performance and a bit of acting. I tell you, well, I've just gone through a whole service and I've actually got these prompt cards that I'm going through. Right, I need to know how to do this so I can get the right lines, so I don't mess up or anything, because it's absolutely crazy. But it's the same. It's just the interaction with people and the stuff that's going on. And so there is a big demand. And you do, if you don't know how to say no, which is what I've got to start learning more and more, I have to say no. Because I know that
you learn very quick saying no to me, George.
Yeah,
so
I'm actually getting there.
You need to be saying no more to.
Well, no. I think since I've been talking to Garvin, I've actually said no to a lot of people. I've actually been turning down gigs left, right, and centre because they're not gigs that help me to move forward. Yeah. They're gigs that allow other people to move forward, but they keep me at a certain static place. And I've actually decided, no, I'm not having that, because as an editor, as a filmmaker. I, like yourself, I actually learned to write because of editing, because I learned how to structure stories, and I continually write all the time. And what I'm finding is that I keep getting pulled into other little groups that want to make things, but they don't fully know and understand the process. Yeah. And one of the biggest difficulties, especially from the editing perspective, is that they don't understand how long it takes to do a proper edit. And they kind of go, but you're wasting lots of money. I kind of go, nope, this is the process. This is what has to go on. And if you don't do this, you won't get the job done. Which also, because Garvin's an accountant, brings us back to another part of the process. I've been involved in a number of feature films where we just made them because we wanted to demonstrate we could. We also worked out what the budget was, but quite often we've struggled to try and raise the finance to pay for a lot of those things.
George, you're starting to talk about the things you told me not to talk about, which is budgeting.
And he's talking about all the things that he told me not to talk about. So I'm actually I'm trying
not to talk about that boring stuff.
I'm the Garvin thing today. I'm the Garvin thing. No, but it's getting the right mix in, because I think at the end of the day, here's the thing, because you're a young person at the moment, you're just starting out, so you can give of yourself to a certain point, but if you keep giving, people will keep taking, and you won't necessarily get what you need to get. And I know that 25 years ago, I've worked it out, Garvin, 25 years ago, we were working with a group of people up in Belfast, and we became the Premier Rejects, and we made 14 short films back then. Were constantly rejected by Northern Line Screen's Premier scheme. And that was the thing. You had to be rejected by that scheme to get into the little mix. And we set up these film festivals. There wasn't the social media that you had now. And it was a struggle, but people did get off and they managed to get jobs in the industry, which at the end of the day was what they were trying to do. Now, you're obviously a businesswoman because you're doing your cakes. And I know how exciting that is, because I have a daughter-in-law that does the macarons. Is it macarons?
Macaroons.
She's doing weddings and all sorts of things, and she's also a physician's assistant, and she's working non-stop, and you're kind of going, at some point she's going to get burnt out, because they are generating an income in that situation, but you can see that if they're not careful and they don't properly balance their lives, they can. How do you manage to get your exercises in there? How do you manage to do the training just to keep fit? Because that's something I've still got to work out. Maybe Garvin's got to do the same thing.
God, no, that's not the last question I'll be answering.
No, it is.
No.
Because it's all about well-being and keeping that present.
For a second and go, because you're doing 95 different things, you're going wide, not deep. Now, you could be going wide and deep in the sense of if you're a bloody expert and all, then you're really going to piss me off. That means, because that's it. You're just too good at everything. But you got to, if I had to shoot you and you're going to go, right, you can only pick only one, and you got to go deep, not wide, give it your all, which one?
Oh, God. Like if you had to remove one from me?
No, you're only getting one. You can be.
You're only getting one.
You can bake. You can be baking for the Queen, or you can be directing for Hollywood, God knows what. But you could be acting in front. You could be in front of the camera. You've got to pick the one. Are you in front? Are you behind? Are you doing the catering? Are you making the SFX?
Well, I'm gonna let Sinead answer that question, and then I'm gonna come back afterwards and explain why that is not possible. But carry on. Yeah, just choose one particular thing that you really love to do.
Acting.
Right, acting. You're in front of the camera.
Without a doubt, not even a question about it.
Yeah, and that's neat. That's actually. Because we all are finding that we have to act through life. And that's an interesting thing. And playing different parts and different roles, it doesn't matter what the medium is quite an exciting thing. So that's pretty good. Now, this is where we come back to, tell us why you're finding that you're having to be multi-hyphenated as opposed to being focused on that one particular area.
Well, nowadays it's very hard for people to break out in acting. So I'm not the kind of person that would be like, okay, I'm going to sit around now until the next acting gig comes along. I'm like, okay, what else can I do to help not just push my name out there, but just to do more things and develop more skills. That was another thing I learned when I went to Bow Street, was develop as many skills as you can, because if you learn to be a baker, then when you're in a movie and you have to be a baker, you can relate to it. You don't have to just pretend, okay, I'm going to pretend to be a baker now. You know how to do it. Yes. You have those life skills. Same with directing, although I absolutely love it and I love acting as well. If I was to ever have to play a director in a film, I know how to do that now. Stunt coordinator, I know how to do that now, all that kind of stuff. And I can put that and push that into my acting. And it gives me not just those skills, but life skills to help me just develop as a person. So that's why I would pick acting as my forefront. But I do all these things as well, just to help with my mind as well. Network. Connections are the most important thing that I found out, especially this year and last year. Connections bring you places.
How did you meet now? How did you meet Veronica and Stephen?
Well, I met Stephen on a set. Before I met Stephen, I was on another set called Here They Come, and it's a new film that I'm doing. And then I was working with a girl on there called Dana, and she was doing sound, and she was like, I'd love for you to be in my next film. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, give me the details, whatever. So then I went on to set, and Stephen was there. Stephen was the writer. It was one of his first short films he wrote. And we were just talking and we really hit it off. And he was like, I have a new film called Behind the Mask, and I'd love you to be in it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Yeah. So he sent it on to me, and we were on set. And we were just talking, and then I was doing a few more films with him. And I found that sometimes when I look at people when they're acting or directing, in my mind, I'm like, I'd love it if we done it this way or add this, whatever. So I just suggested like something to him, and he was like, oh, that's really good, Sinead, actually. So then he was like, do you want to direct with me? And then I was like, yeah, sure. So we directed a few things together, and we started writing together. And that's how we became like super close. So that's how we met. And then on the set of Forever, Veronica had appeared. And she came up because she was just in Bray at the time, and I met her there. And then I texted her the next day, and I was like, it was so nice meeting you. And she's like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that was you. And we started talking, and then I got cast in some of her stuff. And then I ended up directing When You Did, which is her new short film that we done together, which is really good.
Now, have you hit them all for cakes is what I want to know. Are they all ordering cakes every other weekend? You know, was that business card somewhere in that conversation shoved down their throat, and with a special offer 2 for 1 deal, or did you leave that go?
No, it's product placement within the movie.
Yeah, I slyly will take them onto things, or slyly leave. Oh, I left my business card there. Oopsie, you can have a look though, and then that's how you build it on there.
No, I said what we love and now I did say to George, I'm going to reach out to Sinead, because Sinead is popping up on my area and bloody LinkedIn now. So Stephen is not, he's over Facebook side, so I can see him every 5 minutes over there. But then he must have gave you half the job, and you seem to be popping up on LinkedIn a bit more in my feed. And I go, well, I'll have to sort of talk to Sinead, because
I only kind of discovered LinkedIn recently. I didn't realize it was such a big thing. And Stephen was like, oh yeah, like that's how we met another one of the producers that we're working with. And he was like, oh, he reached out to me on LinkedIn. I was like, what's LinkedIn? And then I got it like about a month or so ago. And then I started making all these connections. And then I started doing 1 or 2 podcasts with people in America. And I have another one on this evening. And I was like, oh God, like this is how you make more connections. Like this is great. And keep going on that. Wow. And when we direct together, like on Monster in My Room, we directed together on the first day, and then we had to come back for the second half of the reshoot, and Stephen couldn't make it because he was sick, and I took over, and I directed that bit on my own. So like, although I love directing with him, I also love directing on my own. I can do both. I love working with people, but in my head at the same time.
You're a control freak. We know it. I know it. You know it.
Absolutely.
You're telling the actor, get out of the way, just how to do it. Then you jump behind the camera and go, no, I'll do it. Don't worry. We'll rewrite it. No, this is the lines you should be doing. Catering, where are you?
Actually, in the directing side of things, which is quite interesting, because you're an actor and you're working with people and you're getting ideas. Are you going into the psychology of the way that a character may actually work for motivation and things like that? Tell us a little bit about that process that you would use.
Oh, 1000%. Even when I'm acting myself, I have a routine that I do. I'll deep dive into that character, try completely get into their head. I'll have like I'll have a different playlist for each character. So I'm listening to that on set, getting into it, a certain costume that they might wear, a certain scent that they might wear. So a perfume, anything it can bring it on, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'll try to do, like get into them, because I feel the only way you can properly show the emotions of that character is if you're in their head.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Some people find when they get upset, they don't cry, they laugh. But certain characters, they react differently. So I'll get into that kind of headspace, because although sometimes if I get upset, I might not cry, but that person might. So I need to get in there and start feeling it.
So do you pinch yourself every now and again, bring those little watery tears to your eye?
I haven't yet. No, I listen to sad songs. That might help sometimes.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know the song at the beginning of Up? Oh, that gets me every time. The Disney film.
I'm trying to. No, I can't remember. I'd be in trouble if I actually did remember that, because
that's the one with the old fellow with the balloons, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that up?
Yeah.
Not the song, George. Though the old fellow. Don't remember the song being called "The Old Fellow with the Balloons."
No, that's the film.
Number 3 on Spotify there now. The Old Fellow with the Balloons. Yeah,
love it.
Sorry, watch out for him in the park now. Keep him away from your kids. But it's what's interesting here is, I said you're going wide. You're networking, you're Ireland. We've talked to a few people before. Ireland is small enough that you can, as you said, you can get them. There's stuff going on. You're in a bunch of shorts, you're in a bunch of features, you're on a bunch of podcasts. And it's not that there's no work that you couldn't get involved with. There's plenty of it going on out there for people to interact with. And strange enough, I'm unaware of all this. Therefore, I think there's nothing going on, because there's nothing outside my front window. So, I mean, I think I'm going to have to reach out more and get more involved. And I think I've said this to George in the sense of this year is about getting more involved with the local industry in things that are going on. And it just help out a little bit here. It's not to go work like a lunatic. It's just, you can be there, you can be involved to a little bit or a bigger bit according to your appetite. But the one thing there is you've got to be involved in order to network, in order to get the future work. So you're doing it in spades at the moment, in the sense of you're networking like a lunatic. You're out there, you're everywhere. You're not the elusive Pimpernel. We can seek you here, we can seek you there. The thing is, we keep on finding you everywhere. So it's brilliant to see you out there, and you're putting us to shame. You're putting me to shame. Don't know about him.
Like that's how, like, even with connecting, when I was on the set of Here They Come, I got 2 different things from that. I ended up doing the signal with Dana and Stephen, and then I also connected with one of my co-stars, Shannon, and that's how I ended up doing the makeup on Deadweight. So you never know what's going to come out of every opportunity.
Yeah, well, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible, because George made me do this. I was going to try and avoid it, but the one thing here is I'm going to say, no, you're investing in yourself. You're investing, because I know there's no money. You're not getting paid for any of that, I don't think. Or are you? Am I making that mistake?
In some things I am. I know, like, some people, when they go into acting, they have this big idea in their head that, everything you need to get paid for. Or some people look down on people that are doing films that have no budget or no pay. And they're like, well, why are you doing it if you're not getting paid? It's not the point of, you should never go into a certain field that you love so much and only go into it because you're getting paid or not. It's about filmmaking, making connections. And you do it because you love doing it. Like your job shouldn't feel like a job. It should feel like something you want to do every day. You wake up and you're like, I can't wait to do that today.
Now, George's question would be, well, you have to be able to afford to do it. So is the cakes the primary earner currently, or, what is it that's sustaining you so you can give of yourself to your passion?
The baking helps, and then some of my projects I do get paid for as well.
Good.
I think one of the reasons why I'm saying this is because I know through my long career that because I get seen as a techie as opposed to, and I'm actually a very creative person in what I've been doing, that I've actually ended up having to say no to stuff because they just want me for the check or they want me for something else. And I've invested so much of my life in supporting that side of things that I hate the tech, to be honest. And yet I am with 3 computers and lots of stuff and all these gadgets and lights all around me doing all the stuff I'm doing because I know how to do it. But I don't enjoy that, because part of the reason I'm now getting into the counseling, because I like stories. I'm a storyteller. And part of the reason I'm getting into it may seem a bit daft, but I actually liked, there's a performance thing in being a deacon and actually being there you're putting yourself in front of people, and it's not that you're showing off, but you're actually helping people appreciate something, an aspect of their life, and you're going in and helping. So I'm actually using the skills that I would have learned about acting, drama, and all those kind of things, and filmmaking in another part of my life, because I see that as a way of helping other people. But I also see through the drama, and because we're looking at another video. Well, I'm actually looking at another video with a couple of colleagues to help people that are going on a path similar to me, because the way of telling the story of how to instruct people is not there. And I don't just mean you just do A, B, C, D. There's a drama that needs to be developed to show people how to do things. And I think that's what's so important in the acting and in the filmmaking side. I mean, the number of shows that we're watching now, the Korean soaps, unbelievable. My wife's watching them. I'm kind of going, are you going to stop watching those for a minute and just sort of take a rest? Or no, she's just lapping them up left, right. She's almost learning Korean at the moment because of what she's picking up. But it's what she's enjoying about that sort of genre is the fact that it's not aggressive, which is what we're seeing in the Western side. There's a subtlety to it which reminds her of when she was younger, and she can enjoy and relax and doesn't feel overly anxious by watching these shows that are going. Yeah. Like I saw the trailer for Scream recently, and I kind of went, oh my God, I don't want to see that. Just because I'm kind of going, no, that'll just get the anxiety going up too much. I just want to sort of simmer down and settle down, you know. But I mean,
people saying that to me a lot, where they're like, Sinead, you make so many horror films. How do you sleep at night? I'm like, grand. Like, it's fine. I love horror films. What's weird is when I was little and I'd watch the Harry Potter films, they used to give me nightmares. And my mom would like, oh no, you can't watch those. And now I could literally watch any horror film at like 3 a.m. and I'm just fine, and I'm making them now, and like all the scary nightmares you have as a kid, I'm turning into films.
Now hold on a second. You're watching the horrors at 3 a.m. You're baking at 7. You're running at 8. You're out there zooming. So you did mention earlier, I don't sleep. Now I know there could be here. You're an alien. You're AI. You're something else. You're not human. We know you're not human. I've been reading Carol.
Kassak, I think, or Kasak's. He was the guy that wrote in 1920 the first play that had the word robot. And I thought, I'll watch this, I'll read this and see what it's all about. And I suddenly discovered that all the fears and things that we have about AI and all that technology, and I actually think zombie movies are basically the same kind of thing anyway. It's all about dehumanizing something that comes in and attacks us. And all the scary stuff that, the Terminator and all that kind of stuff. All this was all planted in our minds in the 1920s about revolutions and all the other things that are going on, and about the underdogs suddenly fighting their way forward, which is really what zombie movies are all about. So, I mean, you probably don't go through that when you're actually making your films, or is that something you think about? Do you think about the psychological or the philosophical aspects of the films that you're working on?
The zombies
I want to have fun.
Emotions.
That's
it. A bit of both. Like even some of our sets, like I always like fully admit that no set goes 100% smoothly. Something will always happen. But that's how you learn from it. And your next time you're on, you can be like, oh, I understand that mistake I made, and I can move on and make it better this time. And we have crazy things happen to some of our sets. Like when myself and Stephen were directing Ruby, we had to I made the salt circle and the pentagram in it because Max is conjuring a demon called Ruby. And it was a mixture of salt, sugar, and flour. And we were like, oh, we'll be fine. Everything's fine. And all of a sudden the clapperboard was falling apart and people were coming over to us. And they saw...
I think I need to come down there and do a blessing for you, because I think you may actually be...
was going crazy. Yes. And then we had this guy come up to us, and he saw all the sound equipment, the cameras, and they're like, did someone get stabbed? Is this RTE? And we're like, no, we're just making a short film. And we had a generator for the outdoor lights, and that was making noise and trying to cover that, and people coming over asking 1,000,001 questions, and just loads of things were going wrong, but it was still fun at the end of it.
No, I'm going to come in because Georgia like this. Yeah. Do you believe in like spirits and the spirit world? Like, you're doing the horrors and you're doing a little bit of pentagram, and you could have done a little bit of Ouija board there by accident. And now you've left that house needs to get an exit. No. Do you believe in that type of thing?
Well, I remember when I was 14, I went to something. I went to a play in Peterborough when I was a kid at 14, and we were taken to it as a school trip. And in the middle, they actually had to bring a priest in and actually exorcise the stage before the play started, in case there were spirits that they were bringing out, so there is something real about that. And again, I think because of where I've just found myself going, we are dealing with that kind of spiritual world on a regular basis. And there are some scary stuff that goes on. And I mean, you're talking about the problems that you have on set on that particular occasion. And I'm kind of going, yeah, I think you've got a few little weird spirits going around trying to trip things up and emphasize areas where things could go wrong. So yeah, it is something I think we have to be careful of a little bit. Garvin's talking about the universe and about how he sees the universe. We have different interpretations of how we see the world around us. And I think the more and more we're going on, the more and more we're seeing how we are being influenced by outside forces. And you're talking about that in what's going on there. Do you find that in also helps you? You're a writer as well. So do you find that in coming up with the ideas?
Oh, you're annoying me now, just annoying me. I'm a writer, I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, I'm a lover, I'm all the above. No, you've got the one. Have you a film? You said you're a writer. Mm-hmm. Have you got I've asked a couple of people this before, and don't worry about the man bag, handbag in there. Do you have a feature? Do you have that story? Is it germinating at the moment, or is it fully fledged? If you were given the money, you'd be making it. Or
I have it written.
There you go. It's written.
You have it written.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And now the next question is, what's the budget? What's the budget you think you're going to need for that one?
A few million.
All right, good few million, George. We're going to raise a few million. Is it a horror? Is it a comedy?
Of course it is.
Horror comedy.
Definitely,
Even better.
Is
it something? It has a bit of drama in it and a bit of sadness, a bit of everything.
So horror zombie Romeo Juliet meets Romeo Juliet. Yeah, is it?
Yes, but instead of zombies, it's a different kind of creature.
Oh, good.
But I think that's what hooks audiences from different genres, because I think if you bring, I mean, most of the horrors or even the sci-fi things, when you actually get down to it, it's about human relationships and the problems that people are actually having in the middle of it, before something crazy happens around them, you see that all the time in all these kind of movies. So you've got to have those relationships working. Just because there's a zombie attacking or something else that's attacking.
I think it's Frankenstein's monster goes on a blind date. It sounds like it's a comedy horror. It's a creature, right? It's a creature. He's got 2 legs, 2 arms, and 1 head. Well, we know is it male, right? Is it a male creature?
It has no gender.
No gender. Right? It's not that bloody swimming one again, is it?
Right,
underwater.
Oh God, no. That's no. The what was that? The shape of water.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
Don't like that at all.
No, much scarier.
Yeah.
Is it for Ireland, or is it is it going to have a good chunk of SFX and all that type of stuff, or is it can be done with real people with a bit of dress up?
The creature itself needs a bit of practical FX. I know everyone is getting into CGI nowadays, but I'm more of the practical FX gal. I'd rather like the real stuff, especially since I've been in that industry. I'd much rather than all that computer stuff.
Well, have you seen a lot of films recently where we're finding that if they went back to the old practical stuff, it was actually cheaper because the special effects on computers were literally 10 times more expensive than it were doing practicals.
And everyone goes on about how they loved like the films in the 80s and the 90s. That's all when it was practical effects, and they're just better films in general. And I just rather that than and give all those people that have trained so hard. And I know it's a really hard business because I've been in it. It's so time consuming and it's draining, and they deserve the chance to get back on set and start working a bit more on all these big creatures. And I think it would work better with actors as well, because instead of looking at a tennis ball or someone on stilts and they have all these dots on their face, that's not as scary as if you see like a full scary monster in front of you.
Well, I think the way, I mean,
George sees me every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That scares me.
It's frightening. Very, very frightening.
Yeah. But in Mandalorian, they've actually now started using games engines so that the actors can actually perform and see what it is that's actually around them. And that's becoming more and more interesting. Just meshing that multimedia type stuff, I think is a good way of actually looking at things. I think there's some exciting. I think you're hitting the industry where it's going to be really, really exciting to see where things go and how you can perform with different things. So I think that's going to be fun.
Now, this film though, is it lots of locations, few actors, high drama? Has it got all the buzzwords for meeting that budget and the audience to boot at the end? You're learning that not multiple location, not high costume, not high SFX, because they're all big budget, need big bang. But at the end of the day, if you can get rich storyline and an awful lot of, the shock effect and AI or SFX in your mind type of stuff. Is it that type of film where people fill in the gaps with their mind, or is it you need to get an awful lot of flashbang wallop to get entertained?
It would take about 10 actors, including the creatures. Very small few locations, not big, because I always find that when you have to have a million different locations, it's just more time consuming. You can easily pull off things without having to go to every single different place. You can set design things, change things up. And a good portion of it is in the outdoors anyway. So it can be done in mainly one big location.
Big woods, is it?
Like a few
Big woods. Yeah.
Big woods. Sounds like woods to me. So.
Well, have you seen the film Mother Android? There's a film on. Actually. I think it's either on Netflix or Amazon. That's just come out recently. And it's same. Now there are quite a few characters in it, but basically there's literally about 10 main characters. Everybody else is extras, and all the stuff is about people running around and people on bikes. There's really not many special effects that's in it. It's all about the stuff that you're talking about, which has probably made that film really, really inexpensive, which I think is really quite good to see that, because I think again it's getting us back into the way of working and drum. Have you yourself, I know Garvin doesn't like this, but have you looked at the history? You were talking about the 1980s. Oh, Garvin's thing.
That's it. I told you that's how.
Yeah, no, but you still got your mate. You've still got your main character.
Blue screen. Hold on.
Garvin, you've got to get yourself.
I ain't going to come back.
You've got to get yourself that new computer again.
I don't. This computer is going blue screen.
Right. You see, this is it. You see,
this is the ghost in the machine. You and your fucking exorcist brought this in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I knew you were coming, and now the ghost is in the machine, and it's causing all this. Exactly.
Yeah. Follow me everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think this is where it's interesting. This is why the need to actually get people back together, to actually start to work together and in person as opposed to virtual, which is what we're doing. It's like I'm like in a starship here looking at this kind of stuff.
Well, the great thing, George, about this is I was discussing I've actually got shows. The shows that we were doing are going back a couple of years, and I'm listening to them while I was painting for the last couple of days or weeks. And in them, it's saying, I must get a new computer. And this is 2 years ago. And then about 19, 20 shows later, I have to get a new computer. So that's about 50 shows ago. I've had 2 computers since then. This must be 15-year-old, this computer is. This is going to go. This is going to... But I think it's going to go out in a big bang. It's going to ruin everything. It's going to destroy files.
Let's see if we can get to the end of the show.
I keep on saying it to my wife, and even in mates' earshot, and I go, "You still talking about that computer? What? Look, we just sit down, we'd order one. It's because it doesn't matter what the price is. If you need it now or you need it in the future, you can get it now and have it and use it. And I go, if you have this £1,000 in the bank or something, there's no point in putting these certain things off. You need to do it now. And I'm even, this is a reminder to me now. After this show, I'll talk to that mate, I'll talk to George and go, right, we have to order this computer because the universe has told us a few times now, cop on, it's coming. The tsunami is coming. You'll be warned. So do you take notice of the universe telling you things in the sense of it gives you little hints that, pay attention, fix that, or be aware, or are you aware of the universe at all talking to you?
Yeah, I'll look for signs. Or if they're planted in my face, if I get several of them, then I would okay, I need to start paying attention to this now.
Yeah.
Myself and Stephen are making a new film, and I've been trying to do a lot of things where I'm bringing real things to screen, from script to screen, from previous experiences. And we're making a new film, and it's called One Last Goodbye. And I kind of said to him at the beginning to be I want something really sad for my show reel to have. And he was like, okay, what were you thinking? And I gave him the story of how my grandfather passed away and how a while later I was in the park and I was walking my dog and I saw this man walking towards me and he had the same cane and the same clothing and he looked like him, the same tattoos, and he came up to me and he talked to me. And my granddad always called me Pigeon. That was a certain nickname he called me. And this man came up to me and said that to me. And I was just in utter shock that this happened and winked at me and walked off. And he was singing songs and everything. And I remember I FaceTimed my mom and I was crying, bawling my eyes out, oh my God, I just saw Granddad, what the hell? And I saw loads of robins earlier on that day following me in the park. And the story of how he had passed away, he had his nurse had the same name as me. And I remember going in and seeing him, and she was like, oh, I heard we have the same name. And that's how he was kind of remembering me, because it was near the end of when he was passing away, where he just wasn't really with it anymore. And having that last goodbye with him, and I thought that was our last goodbye, but really when I saw him in the park, it was a sign that he was saying everything's okay, I'm fine, you're doing well, all that kind of stuff, and giving me that reassurance. So I'm always like looking out in the universe for signs or things, or what I should do next, if this is good, if I shouldn't do that. I'll always say, like, please give me a sign. And if something comes out of it, then I know, okay, that's a big sign to do something. Yeah. Or if nothing happens, I'm like, okay, I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
No, I like the language. It's like, I do that. I sometimes they'll give me a, now George will probably say, who are you?
We call it discernment.
Who are you talking to?
We call it discernment.
You go, give me a sign. Give me a sign. And I go, then you're looking for stuff and go, how will I recognize the sign? You know, because I'm going to choose something to be the sign, because you're talking to yourself and going, you want validation. Well, this is me, talking to the universe, and we're talking to the universe for the last 130 shows now, and that's what we're saying. We're fine with it. We'd love a sign. The sign, if someone was watching or listening, and they might tell us, and they enjoy it or don't. But that aside, the sign we wanted was the fact we're doing it. The fact it's okay, we're enjoying it, is the sign that we're getting. And you're getting up each morning. You're continuing on. One sentence you said there is, you're hearing voices. And you're asking questions, and you're hearing voices, right? Well, I don't know what the sign is to other people watching that from the outside.
No, well, let me clarify a few things there, because I know that the journey I've been on in the direction I've got, it wasn't that I heard voices that were audible voices, but there were definitely thoughts that were put into my head that were making me think in a certain direction. And we would use the word discernment, that you're discerning that you're being encouraged to go in a certain direction. And I think that's very important, because that indicates that there is a spiritual world that's out there, and we are being guided. And we do have to be careful what we're playing around and what we're actually mixing with. But you've just told a story about your grandfather, which I think is fascinating. And I must send you a link to a little film that I made with some students about now 10 years ago, no, 12, maybe 15 years ago, called Silent Whisper. And it was the same kind of story about somebody that lost somebody, and how they got to see little messages about, they saw them in the same kind of way you've just described. So I'll send that to you and see what your thoughts are, which I think is really lovely. I think it's also, I can imagine the film that you're talking about, or a story there. So I'm looking forward to seeing that being developed, which I think would be really, really lovely. We're all three of us are talking about the same kind of thing. It doesn't matter what the language is that we use, but we're still looking at this entity that seems to come along and sort of guide us in some sort of direction in the life that we're actually having and where things are going. Do you find that same kind of thing gives you a sense of calmness when, especially because you're working in an industry that can be, I mean, my experience of it is it can be very high anxiety and very critical, and very, you can be knocked for six, and there are power games going on within the structures, especially if you're working in television and some of the high powered stuff, that can really knock you. Are you finding that is hitting you, or are you finding that the way you're working, especially with the people that you've come into contact, is helping that journey go a bit smoother?
Bit of both. I'll always kind of look for signs, and if I get if I get overly anxious on set, which has happened sometimes when you have like so many people running after you, and especially if you have to do like a really emotional scene, I'll just kind of sit. I'll take a few moments by myself, and I'll just kind of get into my mind for a minute and calm. And sometimes I'll look over photos of like positive times, and or I'll go through the script again and just try to stay present and in the moment, and not get kind of lost in all the chaos that's going on around me. And sometimes if I'm really feeling anxious, like I'll even try to talk to someone about it and be like, I'm feeling a bit anxious right now. Can we take a moment? Can we take a break for a few minutes and just kind of get grounded? Because I feel like when you're on a set and everything is just high emotion, and you have a deadline, and everything is like, just go, 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 you need to take just a few minutes and just prep yourself and get ready. Because if you're constantly like on the go, on the run, on set, sometimes you look over like little mistakes or little things that you'd want to change. And then you get your film in the end, you're like, oh, I'm not happy with that. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted to happen. And you just need to like take a moment and be like, okay, how can we, just like when things go wrong on set, instead of going, oh, the film's ruined, we can't finish this anymore. My attitude is, okay, what can we do to fix this? We'll just take a few moments. Doesn't matter what time it is, 3 or 4 in the morning. It's fine. What can we do to fix it? We can come back, get the rest of the shots. I'd rather that than rush something and just get it out.
3 or 4 in the morning. I'm going, what are you doing? I mean, my God, that's called the next day. You could have left it the next. Oh, of course, if it's a night shoot. But you're going. Now, what I heard at the same time was you have 95 jobs. You know, you got like your work. You wake up and you got to fill every minute. How good are you with nothing? Would you explode doing nothing? Wouldn't sitting in a room like just the quiet. My mind goes off like 90 miles an hour. I don't like quiet because I start actually nearly going to hyperdrive in my head. It's like other people will meditate and you do yoga. I think George might do yoga or something like that. But what's your quiet time? Would you spend 5 hours and quite happily do nothing, or would you be thinking all the time the 50 things I could have done?
Well, I go to therapy once a week, every Wednesday, and that's my kind of hour to decompress. And I'll have like a little rant with my therapist every week, just to kind of decompress and talk about all the stressful things that's happened. And I get kind of grounded and back into myself. And then the rest of that day, then when I'm finished, I take that for myself and I won't go on social media. I'll stay off things. That's my little break in the week.
You could have talked to the universe or yourself at half the price.
That's actually really, really good, because one of the things that's the biggest problem that a lot of people are having is they don't know how to talk about their feelings. They don't know how to talk about the emotions. And we're not going to get into that here, but basically one of the things I think that's really, really good. One of the things that's really, really good is that if you have an hour sitting down with somebody else and you're just given a chance to talk and you're not there to solve problems, but you're talking and they're giving you that energy to talk, it actually releases so much tension that's in you. That it has a physical effect upon you, which I think is really, really important. And most people are just bottling things up. I mean, Garvin was talking about the chitter chatter box, and we've talked about this in our show. And when you look at certain psychological things, you suddenly realize you're going from a Freudian bit that you've got the id and the super ego and the ego. And basically that chitter chatter box is not you. You just think it's you. And sometimes you do need that silence. You need to be in the presence where you suddenly become aware, not of your thoughts, but you're aware, not internal, of the external world around you, that you're aware that you can listen to the birds, you can listen to the cars going past, you can listen to what's actually going on, the wind blowing through the trees. I actually did this once and a bumblebee passed me. I had my eyes closed and it went past me, and it was like the rotors of a massive, great big plane going past, straight past me. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I could feel this vibration coming through, the floor. And I was near Larne Harbour, and it turned out to be a ferry coming, and I could feel it from 3 miles. You become so sensitive to all the vibrations, the sounds, the smells, everything else that's around you that you can only get if you suddenly stop and allow yourself to be in the present, in the moment now, and actually get yourself resting in silence. So I think that's lovely. So that's actually very useful. And I think that's something that other listeners might need to start thinking about, that although your life is rush, 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 I mean, one of the things that's also interesting is you've talked about a period where you're giving yourself that physical time to relax through exercise, but you're also given that chance for mentally to unwind as well. And I think that's something that's really, really important. It's something I only learned recently, I mean, and I think most people that don't learn about that, they do end up crashing and they find themselves burnt out thoroughly. And I think that's something that, and they can't sometimes repair that. They've damaged themselves in a real depth way. So it's really good to hear that. And I think these are things that something that Garvin and I can start to think about a bit more as we go forward, because it's not about rushing. And I think that's something I've done on my sets as well. If once you start to do the shoot, it's up to the preparation beforehand. Everything else is, you just leave it and see what happens next. And if you're in that way of thinking, you're in the ever present, you're then open to suggestions and possibilities that could happen that would be far greater than what you thought beforehand. And that's how the universe or God or whatever is influencing that way of working. And then also you can calm other people down who might be sort of racing around. And one of the things I find is if you're constantly rushing, that's where damage happens. That's where you either hurt yourself, accidents start to happen. But if you can be calm and in the moment, that's where you can start to be risk averse, which I think is very important for the guy that's sort of funding this and not having to worry about insurance policies and things like that. And you can keep people calm. They can start to enjoy it. And then they want to be back there again, because that moment is like being in with a counselor. And that's something I think we've got to get into, Garvin, not with the counselor, making the movies so it becomes a counseling session for us.
That's
what are your thoughts on that?
Around, like, I hate the stigma around therapy, that people are so afraid to talk about it. And I'm completely open with it, that like I do go and I quite enjoy it. And I feel like I'm coming back into myself more by doing so. And like, even when I'm doing auditions or if I'm Zoom calls, I'm like, okay, I need to go because I'm going to therapy. Like, I'm not afraid to talk about it. And I find like being able to sit down and talk to people more and being more open, it helps. And that's the great balance that myself and Stephen have, that when we're on set, if I see that he's getting overly anxious, I'm able to be like, it's okay, I can take over. Let's calm and let's think about it and process it, because sometimes he can get very overwhelmed with stuff, and I can too, and we're able to balance each other out. And just like taking a chill pill and just
I'm going to sell some fairy cakes to you now. And what it is you see, everyone's going, what are you two doing? For God's sake, is there still at it? You know, we say this a few times. There's 130 episodes, 130 hours of this shite. And no, the therapy was the first 70. So if you go back and pick any one of them at random, that was us in therapy. He was listening to me, I was listening to him. We just recorded it. And what we were talking about was fear, anxiety, depression. Are we doing the right thing, doing the wrong thing? You know, it's a startup. You know, we're not in control. Risk, compliance, insurance, and imposter syndrome, you name it. And that was, I went through 100 hours of therapy with him. I mean, listening to me. Now, again, we have it for posterity, and the universe or anyone else that wants to watch or sit on that chair and listen in can. But it was honest. It was real. And you're saying the same thing now. We're asking a question. You don't know us from Adam. And you're saying, I'm in therapy. I hear voices. I can't sleep at night. I everywhere I look, I see pigeons. Whatever you go. It's excuse me. It's the great thing is it's honesty, and what you're giving is, this is you here. You roar. There's no artificial. When you put the makeup on and prosthetics on, even then they can hear you trying to sell a couple of muffins. But I mean, they know it's you. They know you're real.
Well, the great thing about that is that you suddenly started. I mean, the things that I talked about earlier on about the 25-year-olds being sort of burnt out, it's because they didn't have the facilities that you found yourself needing. You're actually, the mind is just as important as the physical. They are connected, but we have this capability of talking and telling stories, and we need to work things out. And the best way to do it is to share it with somebody else. And we all need that way of doing it. So therapy in some form of fashion is really, really important. And as you say, the hard times that people have trying to express their feelings, especially older people who have been basically told to, you don't share outside the family, you don't share family secrets, you don't do the pressures that those people are under, because they haven't had that chance to talk things through that they need to, has in many cases ruined their lives. So I think it's really important to keep on talking about therapy. I'm training to be a counselor purely for that same purpose. I also like talking, but I'm not the one talking. I'm learning to listen, and I've learned to listen over the last 2 years because of
no choice. That's
I had no choice. Yeah. I had no choice, but I'm getting good at it. But I'm also getting good at remembering what people are saying and actually then sort of paraphrasing and working those sort of things through. But it opens up the creativity within you as well, and I think that's something that's really, really important for people to get into. We've talked about the Judith. What was her name? Julie Cameron, the writer, The Artist Way. And I've spent 92 weeks writing a journal 5 days a week. And you find that becomes a form of therapy as well. But you're also generating a resource that you can dip in for ideas that you can turn into movies later on as well. So I think that's lovely. So congratulations for sharing what it helps us to realize, and the audience to realize, that you're well balanced because you're getting all those things. And it's not something that the audience should think for themselves is something they shouldn't explore and get into. In fact, the more people do some form of counseling, the better they'll have life-wise in their journey.
Now, you notice he said earlier on, I'm becoming a counselor. And the more people that do counseling, I'll have more customers.
Product placement,
I'll get
with
more
the
money.
cakes.
And
here's my cake.
You got to watch. You have to listen. You have to see what he's saying.
You have to watch and listen. Yep, yep. I didn't do the hypnotherapy one, so I'm not hypnotizing you.
I find like when I'm on set, when I'm directing, I'll take my actors in and we'll just take a few moments and talk about things, and we end up deep diving into our own personal lives and just opening up more. And I love that, and I love when we do that kind of stuff. And then I'm also the kind of director that when I receive a script that I'm going to be directing with people, and I find actors get panicky. They're like, oh, I need to remember every single word of every line. My kind of look on it is that I don't want them to focus on the words on the page. I want them to focus on what comes out. So it doesn't matter if we have to take 10, 50, 100 takes of something. Whatever feels natural to you, let it come out. We can do another take where you do the exact lines that are on the page.
Hold on a second now. No.
Now the accountant's coming back in.
I'm the accountant. And you'll take that in 3 takes, or you can feck off. You gotta be realistic at the same time.
You never know
it's your
what's
money
going to come out of it.
Yeah.
True, but you never know what's going to come out of it. And I hate the way some actors can be trained, where if they make a mistake, they go, "Oh, sorry, I need to start again." No, I hate.
No.
Keep going.
I actually had a practice on set where the director is the one that says cut, and you carry on performing until I say cut. And you don't drop out of character, because I was finding that people that said the lines, they would drop out of character. I said, no, we're going to do that again. Why, George? Why? I said, because you've not given me as the editor or the editor that little piece that they may need that will make that scene work. You need to keep in character right beyond where the scene you think is. Otherwise you're directing, and you're not meant to be directing. You're meant to be that character. You're meant to be living in that moment of what's going on. And again, it's not the dialogue. It's actually the essence of what the scene is about. And if they understand that, they can say whatever they need to say in character. And one of the things I also used to do is I would have a read through or a talk with the actors where I was talking to the character, not the actor, and I wanted the character to respond. And that became a very interesting way of actually working. Now, I've just realized that we're now an hour and 10 minutes into this, so I'm going to have to wrap it up, unfortunately, which is a real shame, because I'm really enjoying the conversation we're having. It's you were talking about the universe and signs and discernment and all that kind of stuff, and I just feel that through this conversation, our message, Garvin, is that we need to get out there and do stuff. We need to get out there and be. Here's a job, will you?
Give us a job.
That's it.
We've got loads of them. Just give us one. Anyone.
Give us one of them. Yeah.
The one thing I've learned the most this year and last year, the most important thing is, if you can control it, whatever crew you have on set, make sure you're 100% comfortable around them. Because I've been around people, like certain crew on things that have just made me uncomfortable, or just don't have the positive attitude. And I just hate that. Like, take your negativity and bring it somewhere else. So I'll always look for the most positive people I can. Yes. And I have a certain
I have no hope then, none whatsoever. I mean, total negative, pessimistic up. Yeah.
Well, for one last goodbye, I said it to Stephen. I'm letting him direct it by himself because I don't want to be pulled out of the moment. I said to him, the one rule I have for this, if we're going to make this, is that you have everyone that we're both 100% comfortable around. And I have some amazing friends who work as my crew that I trust in my absolute life, and I wouldn't have anyone else around me for like when I'm going to have those crucial moments. And I think that's someone everyone needs to kind of realize. Don't just settle for people just because they have a great name or they're good at what they do. There's loads of people that are good at what they do, as long as they don't cause a negative environment on set, because nobody likes that. You're not going to get what you want done.
Well, I worked on a film, or it was on a film set, where one of the wardrobe artists kept saying this is not a real film, and that effect rippled around, and it was very destructive. And on my own film, we had somebody that was negative. We just said, we're going to let you go, because you're not fit for the part. And we got somebody that was very positive. They had the same issues, but they had a positive way of doing it, that we were able to work around the problem that was. It's actually a kiss. It's really bizarre. It turned out to be one was Chinese, the other girl was Korean. And apparently in that society, the kiss, and if you watch some of the Korean stuff, you can see it, that they're dead when they kiss. Because of their culture, they couldn't kiss. So we ended up doing a scene where it looks as though they're about to kiss, but they get caught and they'd pull away. And that was a way of working around it. But because the girl was so positive that we were now working with, she explained what the situation was and why she couldn't do, but it wasn't done in a negative way. It was done in a positive way that we could actually then move on and work around it. So that, yeah, I totally agree. You've got to have that positivity on set, otherwise it won't work.
Like, you can see the difference between, on one set I was on, I had a person in my crew that was kind of just negative about the situation and didn't want to continue, like, oh, this is never going to work out. There's no point. We should just give up now. Versus on another set, where we were working with our one of our crew members, and we were having one or two issues, and he was like, don't worry about it, we can figure it out, there's a way we can work with it.
You can fix it in post, George. You can fix it in post.
Oh, that's the one thing you never say on set. I've had people do for that. But just seeing the difference with Stephen and talking to him, see the difference when you have positive people around you, and I think that'll make or break a film.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fabulous. Well, look, we have come to the end of our show. It's been lovely talking about all the things that you've been doing. You've explained the reason why your main passion is acting. That's, if that was the only job that you had to do, it would be acting. But you've also learned that the only way to survive is to do all the other bits and pieces. And as an entrepreneur, you bake these lovely cakes that you bring on set, and we'll plug those as well, and maybe get a few. Actually, and we'll keep this in the show, but just have it. If you bring us, show us a few shots of your cakes and as background shots, and we'll use that in the backgrounds of our show. Yeah, why not? Let's just have a bit of fun. This is what we like to do. Absolutely. And I think that's the key thing. So we'll include that in there. I love also the fact that although your life is busy, and we were sort of saying that we were concerned, but you've also demonstrated, one, that you know how to physically keep yourself fit so that you are capable of coping with the problems that life throws at you. You've also got another facility, which is the therapy, the counseling, which again helps you to get rid of all that anxiety and stuff, which is also a great way of keeping your mind and body set for what's going on. I also like the idea that there is a form, it's a form of relaxation that you kind of go through in the way that you've taught, that when the hubbub is going around on set and you need to focus on, you have the capability of focusing and pushing out all that background noise so that you can actually be where you need to be in that moment with what's going on. That's actually lovely as well. You've talked about the collaboration that you have with your colleagues and the way that works, that you're counterbalancing one another to keep things moving forward. And you've also got this positivity that you have on set. And you've recognized that anybody that's negative can be very destructive. You need to actually shun them away because of that negativity, to keep that kind of creative spirit that's going on. And you'll give people the opportunity to share their craft with you as you're going through. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. So what I'll do is, if is there anything that you'd like to say as a last closing words before I ask Garvin to say his piece?
I've come to realize, even though I'm still young, and I get that a lot where people are like, oh, you're so young to be doing all these different things, and not treating me the same as if I was someone in the industry for 20 years. I think positivity is the way to go. Even at this age, I've kind of come to realize that any kind of insecurities that you kind of have, just leave them at the door. There's no point bringing them in. It'll serve you in no shape or form, and it'll just hold you back from what you really want to do. So if you want to achieve your dreams in life, it's still possible. You just have to grab them. They're right there in front of you. Just take it.
Well, I'm going to say very quickly there that you've got some wise words, and you've just taught a couple of old dogs some new tricks. I can tell you that. And you've actually given us, me anyway, particularly the motivation to want to carry on. I better give the last word to Garvin.
Well, it's back to talking to the universe and it answering and speaking back. And it turns out we all hear voices. And the thing is, I'm usually arguing with them. Like, I don't know what people watch me shouting at the air. But I think we need to listen to those voices, and they're the inner voices. We called it in a couple of our past shows, it's the inner dialogue. And you can have it giving out, or you can have it coaching you and saying it's okay and go do. And that's the lesson I'm taking from this one. Have a chat with your voice, but make sure it coaches you to go, it's okay, use a bit of PMA and not PMT, and go out there and do stuff and bake cakes. It turns out the only thing that makes money, that makes the world go round, is cakes. And I love cake.
Grab life by the cupcakes.
That's it. Boom. Absolutely. And sprinkles on top. And that's the way it should be.
Exactly.
Yes, Thanks
Brilliant.
a lot.
Okay, folks. Well, thanks a lot for listening to this show. We hope you enjoy that. I think it's a very powerful one this week. So thanks very much. And we look forward to seeing you, hearing you, and whatever next week. Bye for now.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.